Hello everyone and welcome to the biology lecture series, and today we'll be discussing the topic transportation. So we have already discussed some of the topics in the previous lecture. So we have already discussed about the transportation in the higher plants, where we studied about the vasculature system, and we also studied about the how the upward movement of the water takes place, how the essence of water takes place. Okay, and in that we studied about the transpirational cohesion theory, also known as the transpirational pull theory. Apart from this, we have also studied about the transportation in the higher organisms such as humans. So in that, we studied about the circulation system of the humans. And then we also studied about the blood and its components, and what are the types of the blood group, and what are the functions of the blood. And then in the previous lecture, we were studying about the structure of the heart. And then we also studied about the blood flow. How is the blood flow happening in the heart? So briefly, we discussed all these topics. And then in the end, we studied about the blood pressure. Now in this session, we'll be studying about the electrocardiogram. All right. And then also we'll be studying about the another part of the circulatory system, that is the lymphatic system. So the circulatory system, it consisted of the one was the through the blood. So blood was the carrier here, and the other one is the lymphatic system. All right. So let me first introduce you to the topic electrocardiograph, also known as the ECG. Now this electrocardiograph is used for the detection of normalcy of the heartbeat. Okay. So heartbeat. So in the previous lecture, we were talking about the heartbeat. So what is heartbeat? It was due to the systolic pressure, or you can say due to the diastolic pressure. So there were two. Whenever the heart contracts, that is known as systole. So systole, this means the contraction of the heart muscles. And then we have the diastole. Diastole means the relaxation of the heart muscles. So during systole, systolic pressure is generated, and during diastole, diastolic pressure is generated. Okay, and the heartbeat comprises of the sound. Okay, one is the lump sound. So this lump sound is generated during the systole, means during the contraction, and other is the dub sound. So this dub sound is generated during the diastole, means during the relaxation of the heart, or you can say during the relaxation of the cardiac muscles. Now, the normal heartbeat of a person is 72. All right. And then sometimes there is some changes in the heartbeat. So heartbeat can be unusually high, that is known as tachycardia, or it can be unusually low, that is known as bradycardia. Okay. Now there is an instrument to measure the heartbeat. All right. So let's start with this topic, electrocardiogram. Now the muscle fibers of the heart. Okay. What are the muscle fibers? They are made up of the cardiac tissues. So the muscle fibers of the heart, they are specialized at the certain points, and they generate the tiny electrical currents which cause the normal heartbeats. Okay. So for the generation of the normal heartbeats, there are some electrical currents that are generated by the muscle fibers. All right. And these electrical currents or electrical signals are detected by an instrument known as electrocardiograph, which is also known as ECG. All right. So this ECG is a device which record these electrical changes. So there are some electrical changes going on, and the ECG records these electrical changes. Now, electrocardiogram, it is a record of the electrical behavior of the heart and remains constant in a normal man. So there are, if you see the electrocardiogram, there are some peaks present in the electrocardiogram. So these peaks are known as P, Q, R, and S. So there is a particular pattern of these peaks, P, Q, R, S. So if the pattern is normal, then you can say the person have the normal heartbeat. if there is some changes in this pattern, that can be detected in the electrocardiograph. All right. And you can say the person needs some medication. All right. So this is known as the electrocardiogram, and this process is known as electrocardiography. Okay. So what happens in electrocardiography? These peaks, they are generated on a grid paper. I'll show you the electrocardiogram in the upcoming slides. Now, doctors use this ECG for detection of various heart diseases. All right, so there are a lot of heart diseases such as tachycardia as well as bradycardia. So tachycardia, what is tachycardia? Tachycardia means whenever there is an unusual increase in the heartbeat. So you can say whenever there is an increase in the heartbeat, that is known as tachycardia, and unusual decrease in the heart rate. Heartbeat you can see, heart rate you can say. There is an unusual decrease in the heart beat, that is known as the bradycardia. So these changes can be detected during the ECG. And what does ECG do? It detects the electrical signals or the changes in the electrical signals of the heart. Now what happens? Sometimes the sinoatrial node. So this sinoatrial node, this generates this electrical impulses. Sinoatrial node is also known as the sinus node. Okay, these are present in the sinus region of the atria. Okay, sinoatrial node. Okay, where they are present? They are present in the atria, also known as the auricles. That's why the name sinoatrial node, also known as the SA node. This is also known as the pacemaker, natural pacemaker of the heart. Now, if this sinoatrial node, this get damaged, okay, then it will fail to generate this cardiac impulses at the normal rate. All right. Then what will happen? It becomes abnormally slow and irregular, and the ventricles fail to pump the required amount of the blood. So what was the role of the ventricle? It acts as a pumping machine. So role of the ventricle is to pump the blood towards the body organs. So if the SA node or the sinoatrial node is damaged, then what will happen? It will work abnormally and it will produce slow and irregular signals, which will ultimately lead to the decrease in the or failing of the ventricles to pump the blood towards the rest of the body parts. Now, how can this be corrected? So we have been using artificial pacemaker here. All right. So this artificial pacemaker is a instrument that generates the electrical impulses. So this electrical or this artificial pacemaker, it is fixed inside the heart, and this generates the electrical impulses. All right. So the heart can pump the blood at a normal rate. So this can be corrected, or the damaged SA node can be corrected by the surgical grafting of an artificial pacemaker in the chest of the patient. Now this instrument stimulates the heart electrically at the regular intervals to maintain the heartbeat. Okay, and the lifetime of this artificial pacemaker is quite long. So this is quite successful these days. All right. So this is an image showing you the electrocardiograph. Okay, so this is an image showing you electrocardiogram or graph, and the process is known as electrocardiography. Here you can see these peaks are very important: P, Q, R, and S. All right. So if there is a deviation in this pattern, then you can say the person has abnormal heartbeat, or you can say the person has abnormal electrocardiogram. All right, this is clear. Now this was the end of the electrocardiogram. Now we'll talk about the another component of the circulatory system, which is the lymphatic system. Okay, so this, before understanding this lymphatic system, you should know about the term lymph. Okay, so now I'll give you a brief introduction about the lymph. What is lymph? So lymph, it is a clear fluid that circulates through your lymphatic system, which plays a vital role in maintaining the overall health. Now it collects the fluid from the tissues and transport them back to the bloodstream. Additionally, the lymph carries the nutrients and the proteins to the cell as well as to the tissues. So this is known as the lymph. The lymph contains nutrients, proteins, and in addition to this, it also carries some of the waste also. Okay, so waste, they are finally removed, and the nutrients and proteins, they are provided to the cells in the tissues so that they can do all the metabolic processes. And it also helps in the transportation of the waste for their elimination. Okay, lymph also consists of the antibodies also. Now the lymphatic system, what does it comprise of? It comprises of the lymph, then we have the lymphatic capillaries, okay, or you can say simply lymphatic, and it also consists of the lymphatic vessels and the lymph nodes. So these are the lymph nodes. Now lymph serves as the middleman between the blood and the organ for the exchange of any material. So what does this mean, middleman? This means it serves as an intermediate. Intermediate between what? Intermediate between the blood and the organ. So I've told you it acts as the intermediary. So lymph serves as an intermediary, transporting the nutrients, oxygen, hormones, and other substances to the body cells. Okay, so it is a middleman between the blood and the organs. What are the other functions? It also carries carbon dioxide and the metabolic waste from the cell to the bloodstream. Okay, so one role is to provide the nutrients, oxygen, and hormones to the cell so they can carry out all the metabolic processes. And the other function is to remove the waste from that are produced in the cells due to the biochemical reaction and the metabolic reactions. And these waste are then transferred to the bloodstream, and from the blood it is eliminated out of the body. Okay, and eventually returning them to the venous system. So venous contains all the impure blood. Now the lymph is the tissue fluid present in the intercellular spaces. So it is present in the intercellular places. Spaces means between the cells. Inter means it is present between the cells. Okay, these spaces are present in the tissues. So that's why it is also known as the extracellular fluid. Okay, because it is present in the intercellular places. It is not present within the cells. It is present outside the cell in the intercellular spaces. So if this is one cell and this is another cell, this is the third cell. So this here, it will be present here. So these are the intercellular spaces. This one, here the lymph will be present. Okay, that's why it is also known as extracellular fluid. Now, the lymph. This lymph resembles the blood, except that the lymph is devoid of the RBCs. So there are no RBCs present in the lymph. Okay, there is no blood platelets also, and it is also lacking in some of the plasma proteins. Okay, so we know about, when we were talking about the blood, blood has, what are the components of the blood? One is the cellular components. What are the cellular components? These cellular components are RBCs, also known as the erythrocytes. Then we have WBCs, and the other one is the third one is the blood platelets that are involved in the blood clot formation. Then another one was the plasma. Plasma, it consists of what? 91 to 92% of it is water. Apart from that, it also consists of the inorganic materials like inorganic salts. You can say inorganic substances. It also consists of the proteins. These are known as the plasma proteins. Okay, these plasma proteins. What kind of proteins are present in the plasma? These are albumin. One of them is albumin. Then we have another protein known as globulin. Then there is one more protein known as fibrinogen, which is again involved in the blood clot formation. This fibrinogen, this is the protein which is converted into fibrin, and then the fibrin helps in the formation of blood clot. So what happens? This fibrinogen is converted into fibrin, and then fibrin, it interacts with the blood vessels, it interacts with the blood platelets as well as the RBCs, and it forms the blood clot. Okay, so lymph, what does it consist of? It consists, or you can say it resembles the blood, but it doesn't contain the cellular components such as RBCs, blood platelets, as well as some of the plasma proteins. All right. Now the lymphatic system, it runs parallel to the veins. Okay. And the lymphatic capillaries, they are present in the form of network under the epithelial surface. Epithelial surface is the topmost surface, epithelial. Okay, so it is just present under the epithelial surface of the, you can say, the skin. All right. Now, the ends of the lymphatic capillaries, they are open and blind. All right. Why they are blind? What does this mean? The lymphatic capillaries are blind. This means or what is the reason why the lymphatic capillaries are blind? The reason is that so that the interstitial fluid, what are interstitial fluid that is present between the cells, it can enter the capillary, but it cannot move out. That's why the lymphatic capillaries are blind. So this interstitial fluid, this carries a lot of waste material. Okay, so these waste material is then later on eliminated out of the body, and this interstitial fluid remains in the lymphatic capillaries also, only because the lymphatic capillaries are blind. Okay, so this interstitial fluid cannot move out and it remains in the lymphatic capillaries only, and then later on it is eliminated. Now the lymphatic capillaries, they further unite to form the lymphatic vessels, and these vessels reassemble with the veins. So first of all, we have the lymphatic capillaries, then they unite together to form the lymphatic vessels, and these vessels, they again resemble with the veins. Now these lymphatic vessels, they possess the walls. So there are some walls present in the vessels which prevent the backflow of the lymph. So we have studied one of the question in the previous lectures that walls are present in the vessels to prevent the backflow of the material or backflow of the blood, you can say. Okay, so in these vessels, or you can say, if we talk about the veins, in that the blood pressure is very less. So their walls are present to prevent the backflow. Similarly, here also walls are present which prevent the backflow of the lymph. Now the neighboring body muscles, they help in the flow of the lymph, and the small lymphatic vessels unite to form the large vessels. This we have already studied. First, lymphatic capillaries, they reunite to form the lymphatic vessels, and the lymphatic vessels, they unite to form large vessels. Now the larger lymphatic vessels, they unite to form large ducts. All right, so first we had the lymphatic capillaries. These lymphatic capillaries, they unite to form lymphatic vessels. These lymphatic vessels, they combine to form the larger veins. Okay, and these larger veins or larger vessels. Okay, these combine to form larger vessels, and these vessels then combine to form the ducts. Okay, that is what is written here. Lymphatic vessels then again reunite to form the large ducts. That is the right lymphatic duct and the thoracic duct. I'll show you an image in the upcoming slides where you will see the thoracic duct as well as the lymphatic duct. Now the right lymphatic duct, it opens into right subclavian vein. Now what is subclavian vein? So this is a vein present just below the collarbone, or you can say just below the clavicle. Okay, this is a vein present just below the collarbone, also known as the clavicle, as well as the left thoracic duct. Now what is left thoracic duct? It drains lymph from the right and the left descending thoracic lymph trunks. All right, so right lymphatic ducts, it opens into right subclavian vein, okay, and the left thoracic duct. All right, this left thoracic duct, it opens into left subclavian vein. So there is one right subclavian vein and there is one left subclavian vein. This right lymphatic duct, it opens into the right subclavian vein, and the left thoracic duct, it opens into left subclavian vein. Now, before the lymph reaches the blood, it always passes through the lymph nodes. So lymph nodes were also a part of the lymphatic system. Okay, so before reaching the blood, lymph always passes through the lymph nodes. Now, lymph nodes, what are lymph nodes? So lymph nodes, these are the enlargement of the lymphatic system. Okay, so these lymph nodes, okay, so lymphocytes and other plasma cells, they are present in the lymph nodes. All right, and the lymph is cleaned or filtered with the help of these lymph nodes. So the filtration of the lymph takes place in the lymph nodes, which are what? Which are the enlargement of the lymphatic vessels. So there are a lot of lymph nodes present in the humans, and these are involved in the cleaning or the filtration of the lymph. Now these cells, as they contain the lymphocytes, they help in the killing, or you can say fighting the germs. They help in the fighting or killing of the germs, and they also produce the antibodies. So what is the role of antibodies? Again, it gives us protection against the foreign particles, or you can say against the antigen, foreign antigen, okay, which is foreign, means the body cannot recognize it as self, so it is foreign. So antibodies are produced against this foreign antigen, and what they do, this antibody, it will form a complex with the antigen. So antigen is denoted as Ag. So an antibody antigen complex is formed. So here is the antibody. So antibodies are usually Y-shaped structure, and they have in this antigen recognized sites. Okay, so how is the structure? I'll just draw a rough diagram of the structure of the antibody. It looks like this. It is a Y-shaped structure. Okay. So this is the structure of the antibody. Antibodies are also known as immunoglobulins. So these immunoglobulins, these have the antigen recognizing sites which are present here. All right, and it consists of 4, you can say, chains. This is the rough sketch of an antibody, which is also known as immunoglobulin. Now, what are the functions of the lymph? Some of the functions we have already discussed. Now, it provides immunity through the lymphocytes. Okay. Now, another role is fats are absorbed through the lymph vessels in the intestine. So digestion of the fat takes place in the intestine, or you can say the complete digestion of the fat takes place in the intestine. And what is the another role of intestine? It is the absorption. So here the fats are absorbed through the lymph vessels present in the intestine. And what is the third function? It also supplies the digested food and the oxygen to various parts of the body. Okay, means it carries the nutrients, minerals, as well as the oxygen and hormones to various parts of the body, so that they can carry out their metabolic functions. Next role is it helps in the removal of the waste product like parts of the dead cell. All right. So it helps to clean the blood. So there is always wear and tear of the cells going on. So the parts of the dead cells are removed with the help of the lymph. Another role is it returns the proteins and the excess tissue fluid to the blood from the tissue spaces. Okay, this is clear. So these were the functions of the lymph. So this is an image showing you the lymphatic system here. Here you can see the thoracic duct. Here is the cervical lymph nodes present. These are one of the type of the lymph nodes. All right. Here you can see another type, lumbar lymph nodes. So you have to just remember these terms. You don't have to go in detail. Okay. So this is an image showing you the lymphatic system. Here is another organ known as the spleen, where the RBCs dies. Here is the axillary lymph node. So you can see the position of the and the types of the lymph nodes are given in this figure. So you can have a general idea about the lymphatic system. We were talking about the thoracic duct. All right, here you can see the thoracic ducts. Here are the lymph nodes. You can see, all right. This was about the lymphatic system and the electrocardiogram. This is the end of this session. We'll be talking about the rest of the topics in the next session, and we'll also discuss some of the questions that are related to these topics. Thank you very much for listening.